48. Tonight we're talking about, over the last few weeks, we've been hearing, or the last few months, we've been hearing a lot about Balinese culture. We've been hearing a lot about heritage tourism. We've been hearing a lot about real estate. We've been hearing a lot about immersive ideas, immersive spaces. So tonight will be a really interesting episode for those of you which maybe are interested in any of those topics. Because tonight we have a good old friend, Michael Full, over here, who with 3D scans and Rumor 3D has a wonderful product that is able to map spaces, that's able to preserve, empower culture, heritage, but also be a powerful tool for real estate and other immersive spaces, be they events, weddings, and so much more that we're going to speak about tonight. But just before we get started, my name is Robert Ian Bonnick, as you know, the founder, host of SpeakuP Monday. And this is episode number 448. And SpeakuP Monday is this award-winning talk show that is really about entrepreneurship and social impact. Remember, it's called Destination Indonesia. So it's always about those three things, right? Entrepreneurship, social impact, people inspire people, and unity in diversity, the motto of Indonesia. And we are a gateway to Indonesia for medium to large foreign and local companies here, either in Indonesia who want to expand, or those foreign companies that like to come into Indonesia. We connect them on the ground to the resources, places, and people that they need to create success. So look, Michael, firstly, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for the invite, Rob.
I feel like the last time I saw you was last week, because it in fact was last week.
It was.
So look, to get us started, maybe a little bit of background about you, because German heritage, born and bred with this wonderful affinity with technology from a very young age. I wish, right, if I had my time again, that I would be more technically savvy, right? That I would have more runs on the board in that technical arena, because I think that now it's really the way to empower so many things, right? So maybe let us know a bit about your childhood and what brought you into this kind of way of thinking, believing, feeling of tech being something that you'd like to develop and go deeper into.
Thanks for asking. So my background, as you already mentioned, I was born and raised in Germany, in Franconia, near Nuremberg. And it's been like living in a small town. Raised up there, went to school in Nuremberg, which is a little bit bigger town, and then I went for studying to Hamburg, one of the most beautiful cities in Germany, and I started studying project management, and project management was partly technical as well, and during that time I was very much into media, so I started filming and having my own media production company. That scaled up pretty fast. We made content for sport, music, and lifestyle. Lots of concert recording, skateboard events, lifestyle events, art, graffiti. It was a fantastic time. Lots of interviews to have had there. But during the time of media production, this is a very technical space as well, where you need to have certain skills to either produce or market your produced videos. So that was my entry into technology. From that point on, everything evolved quite similar. I think the last 25 years we've been able to witness from a technology point of view were mind-blowing. I mean, we started with those bones we called phones, and now we've got a little pocket computer, and everything is digital and everything is connected.
When did you know, right? So, as a kid, I was, again, a kid's home and all the rest of that, and I realized with this crazy incident that happened that, at the age of 12, I had an idea, I had an insight into what I was going to do for the rest of my life, what was going to drive me, inspire me, and push me. So for you, when it comes to tech, when did you know, that this arena of tech was going to be like a playground for you, somewhere where you found solace and peace and inspired you? Like if there were, one or two experiences growing up that you can look back on now and say, you know what, that was definitely one of those moments, what would you say?
I think it was pretty late, actually, because I've been growing up without a lot of technology. We had a computer when I was 12, 13 or something, and there was a time where you couldn't use the computer really like we do it today. But it was more a necessity, because you need to have certain digital skills to... I've been managing a skate store when I was 20, 21, and you need to promote that. You need to sell stuff. You need to come into certain things where you need to have that skills. So from that point on, it was all learning, and I think that was one of the most important things I know from my life. You never stop learning. Like even now, the last couple of years with AI and blockchain coming up, we will never stop learning. So the technology curve of is something that does not really necessarily have to begin with kids in a young age. Yeah. But I think the learning more comes from if you realize the power of it and you want to create something, then you need to have those skills, and you can learn it.
Then because one thing that we're going to get into pretty soon is that you have this really cool way to connect tech with human beings and inanimate objects. Right, we'll save the inanimate objects for later. So let's talk about human beings. So where is it then, do you think, when you look back, at the life that you've had, because I see you, knowing you a little bit more than what this interview can show, you're very much a kind of humanitarian at heart too, right? So you have a heart, right? So where did that come from? Because obviously there's this intersection and interconnection between tech and being like a human being and heart focused and fueled at that. So where would you say in the upbringing that you had that was either instilled or you began to notice and recognize that was important to you?
Well, I always loved to connect with people. That was coming from my early days as a teens, let's say, hanging out with friends, doing stuff, creating stuff. And I think it is something where it comes to a point where you just embrace technology and you find your passion. And once you found your passion, then you can transport it and use it as a tool to get it bigger. So just as an example, the media production we had there and the lifestyle magazine we made, that was the time during MySpace, and we had a reach of over 1 million people in Germany with shows over TV stations, MySpace, YouTube. We started YouTube channels before actually there was monetizing possible on YouTube. Yeah, that was in 2007. So that was an interesting time, and I think everything needs to be connected. There must be a reason for a thrive. Yeah.
And last question on this, and then we're going to get into what you're doing here in Bali. So, okay, so if there was an experience, asking you to think back again, if there was an experience where you saw the value of human beings, either in tech or outside of tech, which kind of experience comes into your mind where you saw the value of human beings, either in tech or outside of tech? What comes up for you when you look back?
I think the value of human beings just comes definitely without tech as well. Yeah, it is something we experience. It's something how we grow up. It's something how we learn to interact with people, and that is something I always embraced. It's good to have friends. It's good to have family. It's good to have people close by, in good and in bad times.
So why for you, right? Don't know why, but it's coming in, so I have to keep going. Why for you is that important, right? So it's, I remember you, skateboarding, extreme sports, and other things that you're doing, which is a bit the crazy man in there. I see from the mustache as well. That's there's some crazy in there too, right? Which I think is great. But yeah, so like, I guess the thing what I'm trying to get to is that, like, how were you brought up? Because, Germany, coming from the UK, right? Germany has a certain thing for me, right? Which is not true, but a certain generalization I have maybe about Germans, right? And how Germans grew up. So for you, like, how did you grow up? Because again, later on we're going to deal with this, but there is a connection there which really does run through you very powerfully. I don't know if you realize how powerfully it is, which is people focused, right? So last question on this area. So maybe if you look at your mum and your dad, what kind of people were they? And which one, if any of them, were the ones who instilled within you this humanistic way of seeing the world, which you see as obvious or common sense or straightforward, but it's actually not that for a lot of people. So what would you say?
Okay, I raised with two brothers. I'm in the middle. My older brother is 2.5 years older than I, and my younger is 7 years younger. So we've been 3 boys, and it's been always fun playing with my brothers. And my mother and my father. My father was a dentist, yeah, and. See, there's with my mother, I always had a really, really good connection. She's actually coming tonight to visit us for a month here in Bali again, and I think it's just general family and friends. It's a very, very valuable thing where you should dedicate time to. Yeah.
So let's talk about Bali, right? So in Bali, you're one of the few expats that I've met, who bothered to learn the language, right? So you're learning Bahasa. When we go out, we catch up for coffee sometimes. It's like you're speaking Bahasa with the staff. And so, which I think is very admirable, right? So why did you choose Bali? And why did you bother to learn the language?
Oh, interesting. So actually Bali chose us, not we choose Bali. We came here after a 3-year period of traveling the world. When we left Germany, we started traveling Africa, South America, parts of Asia. And when my wife got pregnant, we were in Portugal at that time. Yeah, in Portugal. Yes, very, very beautiful country as well. But we didn't consider living there. The winter is quite harsh in Portugal. It's no fun. So when my wife got pregnant, we needed to find a place where certain factors are coming in place when you've got a family. And I wanted to go to Costa Rica. My wife wanted to go to Sri Lanka. We realized after a couple of weeks with a newborn that both is not really working out because of lack of infrastructure. And we had a look at our bucket list where we would like to live. And there was Hawaii and Bali left. And I knew 2 people in Bali. I gave them a call, and we had the chance to come here and live here for half a year, and we never left again. So it was not really planned. It was just go with the flow, see how everything develops. And when we arrived here in Bali, the first time I've been in Bali was in 2010. And I really didn't like it a lot because we've been traveling from Sumatra to Java and then to Bali. So from super remote to kinda remote with Yogyakarta and beautiful lifestyle there, coming down to Bali, which was quite touristic at that time already. And we're like, nah, that's not the deal. But when we came here, we saw that the compromise that we have here, the culture, the spirit of the people, the weather, having good surf, having good, it all came down to, okay, let's just stay here. There's no reason to go anywhere else. We are living in the Bali bubble, yeah, and it's a beautiful place to live.
Why learn the language?
I think it's a respect thing, and I still have to learn a lot. I'm looking at my team here, and they are laughing. But see, I think it's a certain thing of having respect for the people, to at least have a small conversation. And I'm still struggling doing deeper presentations or talking about politics or something like that. But I believe it's worth putting in some effort into that, because it opens characters and doors and stories, and then we're coming back to the human point of view, where it is important to connect with people. We're living in Indonesia. How shall I connect with people in Indonesia if I don't speak any Bahasa Indonesia?
See, that's the thing. So, as you know, we don't script any questions except the ones that we've said for takeaways, but that's the point. So the SpeakuP Monday, really what it's all about is about revealing the person who's sitting here. Not here has already been done a few times, but the person or people sitting here, right? Because at the end of the day, people inspire people, unity and diversity, entrepreneurship and social impact, right? And we touch upon those three things in a natural way, but then at least the people maybe who are watching here, from either Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, or live in person, they get a sense of who you are. Because again, it's, you know, we do business with people that we like, we do business with people that we respect. And we don't necessarily know what they are until we spend time with them, or we hang out with them, or we have, you know, a little bit deeper than the average kind of Q&A like this. Because again, the things that you take for granted, you know, like learning the language, learning the culture, being good to people, are things that for some reason you see as the ground, right? The place where you begin. Not everyone sees it that way, right? Some people never even see it that way ever. They see it differently. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but they see it very differently to that. So this is the interesting part. But look, we're in Bali right now. So obviously we've got, if you're not seeing this at home, we have this looping material here which gets into the work that you're doing with you know, 3D scans, with Rumor 3D as well. So maybe now's a good little time to kind of move on to that. So let's start by, you know, you've got 3dscan.id, perfectly timed, may I add, right? And this over here is our friends Puri, right, in Kerambatan, Erawan, who is the king of Purianya Kerambatan. And this is one of the only Puris in Bali, and it's still in its original state, 500 years old. And so here you've gone in and you've mapped this space of how it is now. And so this, as we said at the start, is about how do we help, support, and empower heritage tourism, right? And this is one of those opportunities. So maybe if you can explain first, what is 3dscan.id, where did it come from, and then we'll get into that particular example.
All right, thank you. So 3Scan ID is a company that is specializing in digitizing spaces. In general, that means that we create copies, exact copies of the reality, and we present them in a 3D environment that works with devices that combine photographic data and laser data. We combine that data, clean up the models, and then we've got those immersive 3D virtual tours, which is very, very important because humans think with 3 dimensions. Yeah. So if we can access a space in a digital way, and we have still access to those 3 dimensions, we've got way better understanding of what is happening in that space. And the beautiful things about digital twins is that once we have created them, we can add on information to it. That might be audio tours, pop-ups. We can customize everything. We can push in HTML code and make it really, really immersive and educational. And that's the point that we're doing with 3D Scan. That's working in various industries. We're talking here about, obviously in Bali, real estate and travel and hospitality, hotels, beach clubs, real estate. But that works as well for mapping retail stores to create a digital version of a store where you can go through, click to objects, find things, buy things, have a checkout, or even manufacturing, where you can push in AR technology, where you can connect workers together, where you show standard operation procedures to explain those procedures better to new employees. We can connect IoT data. We can do navigation with that. It's a fantastic technology. Yeah.
I mean, one of the things which I really like about it is, remember biology, I learned a word called annotate, or annotated diagrams, right? So this is biology now, back, a long time ago, right? Long time back. So annotated diagram means that you can attach things to it that describe aspects of what's going on. So for example, here when we're doing Erdogan's Palace, what I've been saying to him, eventually we're gonna do it. Eventually, is so maybe you go through this 3D virtual, deeply immersive tour, and then maybe you look to the right, and there's a picture there of his father, right, Noura, who passed away, I think last year. So on that picture, you can click a button, and then from this comes either a video or, as you mentioned, some other AR technologies or whatever it might be. And then maybe what it is then is it pops up, and now there's a description, a video description, maybe using AI or something, Noura speaking about himself, what he's been doing, why he was the last head of protocol of Bali, and all these other things, where he sees Bali going. So you can have this completely immersive experience that's annotated within this immersive experience, which you can add almost anything onto, which I think is brilliant, right? And I mean, because there's no end in sight of what you can do. You can go a little bit further on. Maybe you're going to reach a specific part of the puri of the temple, and this is where the lontar is held. This lontar being, this 300, 400, 500-year-old document that explains how life can be for this particular village, right? In all different areas of life. So it can explain what that is, and that can pop out at you. So all of these things make it very deeply immersive, and I think even at the time we were talking about it, you can even do a Zoom call in there, right? Where you're kind of in there and you're having a Zoom call, within this immersive experience. I think is brilliant. So then, why is it important then for you to, number one, protect Balinese heritage? So that job came up. Why was it important for you to do it? And this one I know that you did without a charge. So why was that important to you?
I think the preservation of culture generally is important, and if we've got the chance to do something like that, we should definitely do it. In the case of Puri Anya Kerambitan, we decided to add an audio tour to it, and it is something humans learn way better about things if there's a certain gamification effect to it. If you are able to explore something, to click objects, to find things, listen to things, you've got more fun learning. And I think one of the most important parts of learning is that it is fun. It is something good, yeah? It shouldn't be boring. So enabling Erawan and having Puri Anya Kerambitan digitized and accessible 24/7 over the whole world is something where I think it's just a good thing to do and a good thing to have.
Now, in a minute, literally about in a minute, I'm going to ask you the ones you can talk about, right? If you can name some of the clients that you have or have had. Reason being is because maybe people watching now might say, okay, digitizing spaces, I get the idea, it's like a 3D tour, okay, I can push AR, AI, and all these different functionalities within that immersive experience, okay, but give me an understanding of the different applications. So which kind of breadth and width of clients do you have? Because maybe within that I can see myself, and maybe I might just give this a try. So just have a think of what those names would be. Give you about 30 seconds more to think about the ones you can talk about. Those of you joining us, we're on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube Live. So this is Speak Up Monday, episode number 448. We're here with Michael Full, who is, has an incredible product, service, let's call it a service actually, that is able to digitize commercial spaces and spaces of deeply cultural significance and heritage here in Bali. And currently, we're talking about what kind of clients does he have? How wide is the application of this technology? So then the question to you is, so how wide is this technology? How wide does it go? Can you talk about some of the clients that you have that gives us an idea of this width?
Yes, absolutely. So like mentioned before, digital twins and 3D virtual tours is something that applies for various industries. Mostly here in Bali, it is real estate and travel and hospitality, but it is very powerful in the architecture, engineering and construction industry and manufacturing industry as well. So to point out a couple of clients, we did work for Finn's Beach Club, we did work for Potato Head, the Sikana, Nirvana Wellness, Pro at School in Nuanu, which is fantastic as well, the Seminyak, and we've got our own real estate platform. It's called Rumor 3D. You mentioned it before already. And there we're working together with real estate agents here in Bali, from Ray White to Bali Treasure Property, Seven Stones Indonesia, Hard Courts, Fuller's Property, and so on and so on. And it's quite broad.
Yeah, and so let us zero in. So Rumor 3D, now as I understand it, it's the only one, right? Or there's something very unique about it. If you could explain what that is, why it's important, and how people can find it.
You will find it typing in rumor3d.com. So it's an online platform.
And that's RUMAH?
That's correct. Yeah. It's the Indonesian word for house. Yeah, so it's Rumah 3D. And the unique thing here is that we do listings with 3D virtual tours. So our partner agencies provide the listings. Our tech team is coming and digitizes those beautiful villas and luxury properties. And we enable them with those 3D virtual tours to have an open house 24/7. And it's a huge advantage because you will identify very, very fast if you like a villa or not by looking at 3D virtual tours and digital twins. So it saves a lot of time, and people from overseas or not here located in Bali can easily access and get an overview of the real estate market here in Bali.
Beautiful. So that's rumor, not as in rumor. I heard a rumor. No, it says rumor. So RUMAH.com.
3D.com.
3D, rumor3d.com. Thank you very much. And I guess just while we're there with that, so some people might say, yeah, I can do renders. I'm in the real estate industry, let's say, right? It's off the plan, so I do renders, right, to show you what it will look like. So if this thing is built, why should I use 3D scans or rumor3d.com? Why should I use that instead of something else? What would you say?
So first of all, we are creating not only physical tours of spaces that are already existing, but we are creating so-called CGI 3D virtual tours as well. And that's exactly the point where developers are coming to us with a floor plan and with renders. And those are two-dimensional pictures. So we create a 3D virtual space around that to enable people to really walk around and see a property from different angles. And as you mentioned before, we've got that virtual meeting feature as well, where an agent can guide you through that beautiful off-plan property and explain to you the in and outs. And it is a tool where you can connect way, way better to a space, and you will understand way better about the size, the scope, how big the rooms are, and the possibilities of that.
Great. So then in a different way, almost dropped it, in a different way to say it then, so you take the 2D pictures basically and create a 3D walkthrough out of that, and this is good for off the plan, right? Got it.
Yeah, that's correct.
Ah, cool. So it's not just the end result. You do the, okay, good. Very good to know. So, okay, so we've spoken about a bit about you, where you've come from, why it's important to you. We've spoken about how Bali chose you, which is funny because the more people you speak to, the more this theme keeps coming through, right? We've spoken about, the fact that you do these 3D tours and just the different aspects of them, the different ways that you can apply them to the different industries, from education, real estate, cultural significant sites, weddings even. Tell us a little bit more about weddings, actually, because I know that one, Bali attracts a lot of weddings. So let's speak a little bit. How does your service product, how does that empower weddings here in Bali?
Well, obviously, if you've got a wedding party, so we had a couple of properties that we scanned that are wedding properties. I think one of the most prominent is Villa Vedas in Kidungu. And obviously, the guests for the weddings are coming from all around the world. So having access to the event venue where you will have your wedding is something very valuable, not only for bride and groom, but for the guests as well. Something to have a good expectation of what will be at the event and find out how everything is working there. It's another thing that our technology is used by event planners, for example, because through the laser data we have of that space, you can do exact measurements. So if you have an outside space, you can measure how big the tents have to be, what needs to be built, and so on and so on. So this is for the case of weddings, and especially if you're selling a wedding place, it is something very, very powerful to show the people exactly how that place is looking like by walking through with someone who explains it to you.
Now, here we go. How much? You knew that was coming. Is it expensive? How much is it?
It is actually very affordable. We charge by square meter. Yeah. So the basic rate is 50,000 for real estate per square meter. 50,000 rupiah for everyone who's not in Indonesia, which is transferred to roughly $3.50. $3. So for a regular villa with 300 square meter, it is something about $1,000. That is something the volume is going up. For example, we just had a project with the Sikana beach town here in Brava, which is spanned over 1.5 hectares.
So that's the Mira Group, right?
That's Mira Group, exactly. And in that case, we apply certain enterprise discounts. It's just a volume discount. So yeah, it's a starting price, which is affordable for smaller spaces. And the moment it's getting bigger, we apply enterprise discounts to that.
Great. And your team, by the way, team, how is he doing? Is going okay? It's going okay? So far good.
Thank you, team.
So tell us about that, because I mean, I know that, you know, with your team, it's an all local team, right? And I see the smiles. There it is. There's a smile, right? And it looked like great people. I'll pick it up in a second. So tell us, you know, why is it important to have a local team, and what have been some of the advantages of that, and what have been some of the challenges with that?
All right, let's start with the challenges. Language. I think that's one of the biggest challenges between a local team and me as an expat. I would love to talk more to you guys in Bahasa, Indonesia. I will be there in the future. Advantages, obviously, the Indonesians have a very, very powerful skill set as well. Yeah, so most of my employees are mid-end of 20th. Yeah, coming from the university, learning things, and for us, it's a huge chance to apply a certain skill set and just see people grow as well. If I look at Ado, for example, Ado did a fantastic journey since he came to us. So I really think that's the right thing to do. Employ locals when you're working here in Indonesia. Yeah.
You see. He did good, right? He did good. It keeps coming up, right? It's the right thing to do. I think that there's a new slogan for you, right? Because it's the right thing to do. Everyone's got one, right? You know, everyone who's sat in this chair, everyone, including myself, we repeat certain things without realizing what we're repeating, right? But when you listen, you actually hear it a lot. So again, this show is three things, right? People inspire people. unity and diversity, and entrepreneurship and social impact. So the thing about you which keeps coming up again is this value base of it's the right thing to do. And that's also why I asked you in the beginning, because I felt this with you a while ago, but that's also why I asked you in the beginning, where does that come from? Because it keeps coming up, and it's actually a brilliant value that you have that I feel and think is one of the reasons why Bali continues to choose you. Because again, you know, without going too deep, we're going to go deep, right? Without going too like deep, you know, it tends to be those people that have an understanding of where they are, right? And how to contribute to that. So there's a guy, his name is Gus Agung. He's the head of Bali Tourism Board, right? If you're watching Gus, hello, right? But the one thing that he said, well, there's a few, but one of the things that stuck with me was this. He says, if you're a tourist in Bali, please come back. Number one. Number two, if you're a long stayer in Bali, what can you contribute? Please come back, and what can you contribute? And that's the point. So with you, it's contribution. With those who've been on the show, which have had not only just, you know, staff from Bali or Indonesia at large, but it's a mindset, it's a heart set, and it's a soul set, right? That's what I feel with people, right? And I feel it with you too. I always have, right? Even before when you had this long hair. I remember when you had this long hair. I thought, who is this guy? Long hair, with a bit like a hippie. I'm like, I don't hang out with hippies. I was joking. I do not hang out with hippies. No, I do. So it's interesting seeing you over the years. Again, a great mate of ours, Chris Robb, who introduced us. Maybe he's watching this. Chris,
Thank you, Chris.
Sam.
Great friend.
How you doing? Another superb human being. You know, but these are the things that we're noticing, because this show is always about Indonesians as well as expats living here in Indonesia that call Indonesia home. And this is, again, a constant that comes up. What Gus Agung said, if you're a tourist, please come back. If you're a foreigner who's staying here for an extended period of time, what can you contribute? So, as we get down, I'm going to have a look at these three takeaways we said that we would cover. I'm pretty sure we've covered them. So, number one was, you know, 3D digital twin technology. Get my lips around it. Understand how this technology represents the future of visual experiences, offering hyper-realistic virtual replicas of real-world spaces. It's right over here. You've been watching it. And then number two is this immersive spaces for education and exploration. Learn how 3D digital spaces are transforming how we learn and interact with environments, especially in education and cultural preservation. So the cultural preservation, I think we've covered, but the education, maybe not enough. So how would you say then that this technology is empowering education? What would you say to that?
Thanks for asking. So first of all, I have to brag a little bit about the statistics of those technologies. So this is nothing we invented. Yeah, digital twin technology and 3D virtual tours have been around for a while. And we have case studies and we have the stats that it increases the engagement, increases the booking, it increases the time you spend, the touch points with brands. And those are very impressive statistics in general. Yeah. And I think that coming to the educational point, like I mentioned before, I think it is important to present education in an engaging way. Yeah, I think that was one of the biggest problems we had in school, Rob. Yeah, it wasn't really engaging sitting there with 30 people and listening to one dude all the time. It was boring. Yeah. Now we can make it really, really cool. Yeah, we can implement it to any topic we want, and we can address it to certain niches as well. The great thing with digital twins is that those are actually it's a digital thing. We can copy it. We click a button and it's a copy. So we can apply certain educational journeys out of one digital twin for employees, for kids, for whatever you want to explain. Yeah.
You know, there's another one that just popped in there. So there's a lady, Bianca Raby, if you're watching. Hi, Bianca. Another Aussie, mate. So Bianca is what we call a learning designer. So when we interviewed her a while ago now, just after COVID, during COVID probably, and she was just saying about at that time, all of the online courses out of, let's say, out of the 100 million. It's not the right number, but just to give you an idea, out of the 100 million, online courses out there, something like 95% are ineffective. So in other words, of all the online courses which are out there, 95%, I think it was more actually, are ineffective. So the reason why is because, remember, at school, when you learn, it's always about testing your memory, right? So you go, blah, 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 the Battle of Hastings, right? 1066. Blah, 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 the signing of the Magna Carta. Right? And obviously the Indonesian, right? Blah, 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 blah. When was the Republic of Indonesia formed? Or for you, blah, 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 blah. What are the 5 guiding principles of Pancasila? Right? Which you know because you repeat them every morning, right? At school, and so on. But the thing is that all your testing is factual recall. So in other words, how long can you hold that information in your head and spit it out again? That's not actually learning. That's memory recall. The two things are very different. So the whole 95% of the online courses are based upon that. Blah, 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 factual recall. So through becoming a learning designer, you literally go through a journey of how do you create a topic to be discussed or to be learnt in such a way that not only is there a bit of gamification in there that you've spoken about already, but also there's feedback mechanisms and loops within that to ensure that you've understood what has come before, as opposed to just 1066, Battle of Hastings, right? Instead of factual recall only. So this is, where I see this technology playing a really strong part in its gamification and it making something interesting for you to want to engage with. The other thing you mentioned about, that this also, one of the largest markets within the online market is corporate videos. Right? How to learn to do something, how to follow X, Y, and Z protocol to arrive at a defined result. And these companies, which are global companies, don't have the luxury to fly around the world to deal with all the different units in different countries. So again, things like this, from what I can see, if I've understood correctly, it has a use. Right? So it can use your technology in order to empower that, right?
Yes, you're absolutely right. See, let's take a laboratory, for example. The employees need to learn about hazardous situations in that laboratory. In a 3D digital space, we can set up those scenarios, and the employees or the visitors of that digital twin need to identify certain scenarios that are hazardous. They can click on it and then find more information about. Let it be videos, let it be an audio, let it be something connected with it. And I think that's exactly the power of the technology, that you can attach the visualization with a certain object and certain learning mechanism. Let it be questionnaires, let it be manuals, let it be certain structures, how things work. So there are more touch points than only reading something. It's better to memorize.
Super cool. All right, so what we're going to do now is, so if there's any questions, I'm looking at your team, they're like, shall I put the boss on the spot?
Feel free to do so. Yeah.
And they're thinking like, oh, maybe I shouldn't. Or maybe I should. I see the smiles. Listen, they have some questions for you. They might not come up now, maybe off camera. So if you do have any questions, right, just raise your hand in the next minutes or so, and then we're happy for you to have a microphone, and then you can ask your question, or you can shout it out, and I'll just repeat it. Either way, that's an option. Just raise your hand. Anyone who's here who might want to ask a question. But for you, Michael, we've covered a few ground, right? So those, again, joining, we're Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, episode 448. We're talking about digitizing spaces of commercial and cultural significance, right? And we've spoken about 3D scans, ID. Yes, and we've spoken about rumor3d.com, right, as websites to connect with you. We've spoken about the array, the width and breadth of how many applications and industries can actually use this technology for the better, right, from real estate, place of cultural significance to wedding venues and so on. We've spoken a lot about that, which is great. We've spoken about, how it can be used in real estate, how you can go back and even off the plan, developments can take 2D, basically drawings, imagery, and you can convert that using CGI into 3D. But now we've got laser, also you mentioned laser measurements. So you can also, if there's an event producer who's in a different country, can look in and say, right, we want to do a certain event, give us precise measurements of the space, the height, the width, the breadth, and they can do that through this service that you offer as well. So, all right, so maybe the question then is, is there anything else that you feel at this time might be good to mention, that you feel, I just want to mention that thing?
I want to mention two things, actually. So, the first thing I would like to mention is something to give you a better understanding of how far we can go with the technology is a project that we made together with ep.448, which is a great architectural company in here. ep.448 is doing bamboo structures, and they are creating miniature models of that bamboo structure they want to build for understanding better how the structure is working for them. So we took one of their miniature models and we digitized it. We were exporting the data then into Rhino or SketchUp file, that they have a digital model, a scalable model that they can bring on site and really check the structures, show it there to the workers how things work, and there's a lot of value in there. One case. The second case I want to mention is that within the construction industry, there's a huge need for documentation, collaboration, and communication, especially on bigger projects. So how we are going to do that is that we are scanning a construction site from the very first ground break until the finalization of it. And then you've got a tool where you can compare things, where you can document things, where you can find and identify errors or mistakes very early on, and you can invite stakeholders in one platform to have better communication, to leave notes, to reduce site visits, to save time, and make everything way more faster and better. So those two things are good examples of the technology we haven't touched so far. But Rob, I could keep going for hours.
in true tradition. So look, one of the last points to cover, which we may have covered already, the importance of 3D visualization in real estate and hospitality. Discover the 3D visualization on property development, tourism, enhancing client experiences, and boosting engagement. Woo! So, Bali tourism. So I remember we did a job for Bali tourism as well, and there was an idea on the table that maybe isn't quite the right time for it now, but I think it's a really interesting idea. And if you wouldn't mind, maybe there's someone from Bali tourism watching now, how to put Michael under the bus live on TV. Oh yeah. So what was the idea that you had about mapping the different spaces in Bali, the tourism destinations, and why do you think that was important and still think it's important, and what would be the advantages to Bali for doing something like that?
So we made a digital tourism information. We used our technology to capture a space within the Ngurah airport, and there we attached certain links to it, find information, and so on and so on. And I think it's a valuable thing for tourists that come to Bali to have a central space where they find curated information about touristic hotspots and general information how things in Bali work, and let it be transportation, let it be beautiful sites, let it be how to buy your SIM card when you arrive at the airport. So that is something with value for people that are coming here.
So it's almost like, what is it? Giving his idea away. No, yes. So it's almost like a rumor 3D, right? Meaning, for those who just arrived, so what Michael also does with rumor3d.com, yes, is basically the only library working with some of the major real estate agents in and around Bali, basically for 3D tours of homes to buy, to purchase, to lease,
yes,
and so
correct,
on, right?
Yeah.
And you get there again, rumor3d.com, rumor, RUMAHI.com.
That's correct.
ID.com.
Yeah, that's correct.
I got it right the first time.
Yeah.
So something like that with tourism, in a way, I see the same way, right? Which is, how do you map the sites of touristic interest and value from around Bali using this technology and putting it in one place, which you, again, already mapped is a Bali Tourism Office and international airport and so on. So therefore, digitally, when you're outside of Bali, outside of Indonesia, you can already be checking it out, which again, you can go to a website, but then this is, again, 2D images, right? And as you mentioned, the human brain, the human soul, right, accepts and appreciates things on a much deeper level when in 3D.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely. And I think there's something to mention. There's a misunderstanding of the technology often as well. It is what we know is 360 imagery. Okay. Yes. So that's something Google Street View is using. We are using not 360s for our technology. We are using 3D. This is the core is the addition of photographic data and laser data. A 360 for us is a side product, and we have a Google Street View integration natively for our technology. But that's a like we're doing the next level. Yeah. But yeah, the directory thing is something actually really powerful. And speaking about it, we are just launching our directory for real estate related services on Rumor 3D now. So you're not only able to find agencies now on Rumor 3D, which are semi-curated, but you will find information about architects, developments, villa maintenance, villa management, real estate related services. Everything you need, you will find on that platform in the future.
So now is the time, as we begin to come towards the end now, if there are any questions, raise a hand and let us know. Now, a few things I want to say. So one is, have a think now. So, and I think you've said it, but sometimes it helps to say it at once, concisely, in one go, right? Which is, and it's a very wide question. If someone was watching now, online or offline, and they're wondering how to use this technology, what would you say? Meaning, perhaps for which industries is it applicable, and what can you do for each of those industries? Now, you can choose a few or you can go longer. It's up to you. That's one part. Then the second part is, which I think we've covered, but if there's anything else that you'd like to say as we're beginning to wrap up, right? Now, you've got about 2 minutes to think about that, because I'm going to say something else in a minute, but just to give you an idea of what those two questions are. So one, if someone was watching, which industry, how can you help them, or which industries are you looking for right now? Maybe a focus. And then the second part of that is, so is there anything else you'd like to say, right? That maybe might just pop into your head. I like the one about the difference between 360 and 3D. That one's good, because then again, it nails it in people's minds. So have a think about those. Now, for those of you watching now, I just want to thank Brother Guzman Hadis, Tropical Nomad. This is episode 448, Speak Up Monday, Destination Indonesia, right? Now, tomorrow, that's Tuesday, we have a very special event, right? So, as you know, this is, almost 500 episodes. So we've been developing this SpeakuP in Action series. What does that mean? It means that of all the wonderful speakers, causes, movements, companies, you name it, that we've had on the show over the years, Indonesian and expat, the question from medical, we deal with 10 different market sectors. And that's why we're able, as a consultancy, to connect the dots in 10 different markets, across markets, okay? Because we have this great database, this great Rolodex, but more importantly, great relationships to the leaders, to the stakeholders, the innovators, the disruptors of each industry. So tomorrow what we're going to do is we're going to create a special insight share of a masterclass, which is all about public speaking, presentation, and interviewing insights. So these are things which I've gleaned over the last 20 years, 30 years of doing this, of being an advisor, a speaker, a coach, and all the rest of that. So in this interesting knowledge share, which is free to attend in person, I would recommend, which is 6 o'clock tomorrow, Tuesday, here at Tropical Nomad. But it will go out live as well online for those who can't be here. But we really get down to the nuts and bolts, insight-wise, of what makes something as a speaker, presenter, special, right? How do you interview people and get the best out of them, right? How do you tap into that juice, right? Where the energy is flowing, right? Which is it's always flowing through me. Tonight I have to hold it back a little bit, right? But how do you tap into that, right? And what is the most important key to anyone becoming a persuasive speaker? All of that will be coming tomorrow, live here from Tropical Nomad, 6 o'clock. We'll go live at 6:30 till about 8 o'clock. So if any of those things interest you, podcaster, interviewer, speaker, MC, or want to be one of those, feel free to come tomorrow, grab some great insights. It's going to be fun. So,
amazing, Rob. Amazing.
Tomorrow,
yeah,
we go.
Fantastic,
Tomorrow.
fantastic.
So, Brother Michael, just want to say thank you very much, mate, for coming, for accepting to be here. Love what you're doing, obviously. Love the fact that you're behind Bali, right? That is sewn within the DNA of you, right? And it's so clear. And that thing which is for you to take away with you of just, it makes sense, right? Doesn't everyone do it? It's not common, actually. It's a special thing about you which makes you you, that attracts people to you. Having a wonderful team over here of staff and all of that is something that you feel, not something that you figure. You know, so just thank you, my brother. So over to you. Any last closing comments, and we'll have a little photo afterwards.
Well, all right. You asked about some use cases. Yeah, let's just come back to that. And as we are here in Bali, I will not talk about manufacturing and other use cases outside, but I think especially travel and hospitality is something where the pre-booking experience for clients that want to learn about the space, a hotel, a beach club, a villa, is very, very important. Yeah, if you can give people a tool where they learn about your space, it is very, very powerful. We can send them directly to any space into that. Let's say I'm asking you, Rob, but that king-size bed, is it really a king-size bed? You just send the link and send someone in the 3D space, and it's like, this is the bed. You can measure it. It's a king-size bed, yeah, and that can be applied to various situations. Real estate, obviously, it's a great sales and marketing tool because you can invite people into that space and save a lot of time for them, save a lot of time for you as an agent, yeah. Last but not least, I want to give you an outlook of what's going on in the future with digital twin technology, because we have seen a lot of impact from AI in the last, let's say, 24 months. It's getting more and more and more. That same thing will apply to digital twins. So we just have a feature that was going live called defurnishing. So now if you scan a villa, you can just press a button and it's got it. All of the furnished pictures, everything is gone to have a better understanding of that space. And we will see prompting within digital twins in the future, that you can design things directly in the digital twin, that you can ask for certain setups. How shall I make this co-working space more effective? How many people can go inside? And this is something where we can see a shift in interior design, in architecture, and in understanding places in general very, very well in the future. That goes along with the connection of real data, live data, IoT devices, and so on and so on. So we will see a massive push towards AI, VR, AR, and exciting times for us within the digital twin technology. Yeah.
Beautiful work. Well done, mate. Thanks again. And so remember, so you have two websites to pay attention to. So one is rumah3d.com, and that's Rumah, RUMAH.com. That's one. Then 3dscans.id.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Welcome. Round of applause, everybody. Michael Full.
Thanks, everyone.
See you next week.
Thank you.